Hi everyone, my name's Pieta Valentine. I've written 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. So today's session is on addressing the one and only newspaper in the Dementia Unit issue. Now, this is a real issue, and that's why I'm doing a whole session on this, the newspaper. Okay. Typically in a dementia unit, 1 newspaper for everyone, that's it. You might get 1 or 2 residents who have their own subscription. Enlightened relatives keep that going, but generally not. Generally, the person comes into the unit, everything stops. No subscription to newspapers, magazines, Women's Weekly, National Geographic, it's all cut. Not good at all. So what happens is that at the dementia facility, when you're reading, if you're reading out the newspaper, each morning they have a newspaper reading, right, with the one newspaper. So what typically happens is they hear the news, say a half-hour session, and then at the end of that they say, the residents say, oh, well, can I have a copy of the newspaper to read now? I mean, that's, half of them say that. And it's like, well, yes, that would be a good idea if there were newspapers to give you. And then what happened is I used to explain, look, there's only 1 newspaper here for all of you. It has to be shared. But the best thing is if you can ask your relative, your son or your daughter, for the newspaper subscription. That's the best way for you to get your newspaper. You have every right for that. It's your money, it's your, estate, however you go around it, your son or daughter can get it for you. Oh, yes, they all say, yes, we'll do that. How many times I said that? And then again, the next week, oh, we'd like a newspaper. We haven't got a newspaper. How can we get a newspaper? Again, look, I've gone through this with you many times now, that you need to ask your son or daughter for the newspaper. The nurses aren't going to get it happening. The doctors and the nurses are too busy. I can't. Staff members can't initiate this. You have to initiate it for yourself. Oh, yes, we will. And this went on, and they didn't. And then in the end I said, so why aren't you asking your child or children or son or daughter for the newspaper subscription? You ask me every day I get this from you, but you are not asking the kids. They're the ones that have, that organize all your finances, so they need to be told so they can get it for. Oh, well, we don't want to make a fuss after all this, months of we don't want to make a fuss. Look, it's not about making a fuss, it's just about asking for a newspaper, that's all. Do you know, I couldn't get that turned around. I think it was pretty much the one and only thing in the dementia facility that I couldn't get turned around. Put in so much effort into that, but no, don't want to make a fuss. And there they go. They just sit there penalised, no newspaper. If they had a newspaper, the 4 or 5, half the group, or say 6, that would have well done with it, that would have filled up half their day. Excuse me, they could have sat at the window, window seat, reading the newspaper, flicking through, looking at the pictures, reading the titles, talking to their friend about it. It would have filled half the day, like it has for a lot of their lives, for many of them. But just because they didn't want to bother the children, they didn't ask. Such a waste. As staff, you're not really in the position to sort of advise relatives, but once or twice I did, because I thought, look, actually 3 times I think I did, because it was just too much. I just felt it wasn't right. So anyway, there was this one lady, she was a very tiny lady. God, the family were good. They visited regularly. She had these terrible slippery sandals with socks, sandals with a heel, those dreadful things, no balance, no support, and socks. Terrible disaster risk, high risk for people falling with slippery sandals and socks on. Anyway, the family finally realised this and came in and went to great lengths to get some really good, solid, comfortable, I think they were running shoes for her. They were fabulous. Anyway, that all worked. So I thought, oh, okay, so the family's, you know, pragmatic, you know, they're practical, they're making the effort. I'm sure if I ask them about the newspaper, they'll be receptive, because this particular lady every day used to come at the start of the newspaper reading, can I have the paper? Can I have the paper? You know, every day she'd ask for that. And so I said to the relative, wasn't really within my scope to do this, but I said, look, your mother is asking for the newspaper every day. And they said, oh, yes, well, especially, and I said, especially Saturday. She likes the Saturday press, the big, thick, good, solid newspaper. And they said, oh, yes, because she has a niece who's a journalist. And they put in, you know, feature articles each week, and she's always read them. And so that's what she'll be wanting the Saturday newspaper for. And so I said, oh, fantastic. So, you know, would you mind bringing, if she could subscribe to the newspaper, and especially get that Saturday edition, or even just the Saturday edition, you know, you can get that as well, just without the weekly, daily newspaper, then she can have a copy of it, because we've only got one, you know, newspaper here. Anyway, I mean, you know, they were looking right through me, not at me. Yeah. Anyway, they weren't engaging with me. I could see they were glazed, you know, glazed eyes. I mean, they realised their mother was interested, so therefore why not get it if she's interested? But oh no newspaper, no little cut-out articles of the, you know, of the niece's journalistic efforts, which could have easily been cut out and brought in. She had a little walker with a walking basket thing, and they could have just been gone in there, and she'd have something to read each day, you know, pile of those. But oh no newspaper came. Oh, I couldn't understand it. Then there was another woman. She was a strong, wonderful lady. She had, you know, quite a number of sons, and one son visited regularly, and I said to him about her wanting to read a paper, but he didn't get it. Then, look, I tried to train this lady up to ask for the paper, because she was always asking for the paper, and she was an assertive woman, very assertive in the unit. She helped out the residents when they were attacked, and, you know, she was the voice for the group, and she was confident. But oh no, when the son came in, she just went to jelly. Oh, my son, he's come to see me. So excited, lost all thought patterns, you know, cognition went out the window, and she couldn't remember that she needed to ask about the newspaper. So what I'd do, he'd be coming in the door, I'd say, look, remember to ask for your newspaper. He's coming in about 5 seconds. Yes, I'll remember. No, he'd go, oh, my son, out the window. So she never remembered to tell him. And when I said something, he just did, you know, I don't know why they don't pick this up, but they just, well, you know, mum's here, she can't remember, therefore she can't think, therefore she can't read. Maybe that's what they think. Rather than mum can't remember, but maybe she can think and maybe she can read, especially if she's asking for the newspaper and wants to read it. She wouldn't ask for it unless she wanted to read it. Anyway, on and on. No, didn't get anywhere. These are just some wonderful examples. So that's why I am saying it in this video. To anyone out there that's listening to it, if residents, if relatives in dementia units are asking for the newspaper, or if they enjoy reading magazines and other articles, Women's Weekly, whatever, please give them a chance of having a newspaper. Just ask them, Mum, would you like to read a newspaper? If they're reading magazines, chances are they'll say, yes, dear, that would be lovely. I've always read it. Yes, it would be good to have the newspaper here. A bit like the warmth in the last video, you know, unless you specifically ask, you know, that smart questioning, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-framed. Ask in that manner about the newspaper, like the last video about getting the heater, and you'll find the response will come. Yes, that would be good. I would like that. Otherwise, barrier. You can never get through it. It takes forever and you might not even get there. So this is the way. Anyway, thank you for your likes, subscriptions and everything. Fantastic.